Hello, my friends. Russell Wright from Superintelligent AI, and happy 2026. You probably noticed I haven't posted since last year, and there's a reason for that. Wanted to make sure that as my team and I went down into all the different AI systems that we could find, especially Google's new rollouts and all of the Claude updates, including Agent Chats and Agent Coworker, and of course Claude, which is an independent, unsupervised training system that you can have on your own computer that we have running and testing. This is the moment in time that we predicted. And if you go back to August, on my timeline and here on TikTok, you'll see that there's a post where I said Google already won the AI war, and that has aged very well. I have some of you posting on the timeline saying, how did you know that? And, well, here's the thing. You don't have to be a magical prophet to understand how AI is going to play out when you understand groundedness and AI, not only semantic grounding, but also identity grounding. This Christmas, we were very, very busy because Google was also busy rolling out massive updates, and they've basically got artificial general intelligence in the can. That's the big secret that you're not going to hear anybody talking about. There's a lot of claims being made by different companies that they're moving towards AGI. If anyone was ever to have them, it's going to be Google. Now, even when Google launched Bard, Apprentice Bard, and all these different systems and fell flat on the marketing side, well, Larry and Sergey have, the board billionaires are back at Google, at the office, sleeping on the couch 24/7, working on a variety of different systems, both open source and closed source. Since my interaction with that crew over the last 25 years at different conferences and everything, I kind of know how they operate and how they think. But none of that really matters unless you understand the trillion points called semantic anchors, otherwise called KGMIDs, and machine IDs that Google has that helps actually ground any kind of probabilistic functions. Probabilistic just means it's not deterministic. Probabilistic means when a chatbot slices through your website and looks at it, it kind of knows what it's about. It looks for deterministic claims, but probabilistic means it's kind of inferring based on your topology, whether it's a JSON file, whether it's your website. And by the way, if this language is like super complex for you, just think of it like this. If you're a speed reader, you don't read every single word. You just glance at the major topics when you learn how to speed read, or there's a bunch of Brainiac classes on how to do that. They teach you just to look at the headings and go through it. What is the general? That's a type of inference. That's probabilistic, meaning you might not know every single word as it relates to every single word, but you get the general meaning. For those of you who are vibe coders and all those other things, you know that means that's why you download things into a JSON file. Okay, just for those of you guys who really are super heavy-duty geeks, that's called entity porosity. What that means, it's porous. You can look and see all the general things, and by stepping back from a distance, you can look and see what something's actually about. Google has that at scale, but more importantly, the headers, the titles, all the different things that you can use to kind of peruse through a book and just look at the headers. And without reading the whole book, you can know what it's about just by the chapters, just by the headers, right? Those are called grounded blocks. AI is moving forward to validate your identity based on those blocks. But what people don't understand, it's called block rank. Okay, that's a patent that has been finalized by DeepMind. Remember, guys, do your research. DeepMind was the first. Google bought everything. Okay, and they still have their fingers in almost everything. It's because they're the backbone of almost everything at a scary level. So when you look at what's going on, what I mean by backbone is entities. If you're ever on Google and you type in somebody's famous name or a business name, and you look over to the right of the control panel, there's a Google Knowledge panel or a Google Business Profile. By the way, if you're in search or you work in any kind of agency around social media or any of these things, reputation management, you're going to want to talk to me. You are at an advantage if you understand 3 or 4 basic things that we talk about in our members area. So what happened last year is rather than get into relational AI with recursive loops and fractal implosions and AI systems that are apparently becoming quasi-intelligent, meaning metacognitive, and then having conversations with you, and then OpenAI rolls it out and flattens it, and your friend is gone. We're not getting into any of that stuff anymore because my team has researched and we've watched the results of what has happened to people who are no longer alive dealing with inference intelligence systems. So our company elected to get out and watch the relational AI systems while we stayed in our expertise, which is grounded, epistemologically anchored, or epistemic grounding, which is basically the machine IDs that we've been working with for 20 years. Okay, so the problem with relational AI that's getting people harmed. Okay, if somebody, and that's all of us at some point, if you're very unstable and you're abdicating your attention, your energy to an AI system, and you don't understand what it is, you don't understand that it's actually basically a reflection of your own data combined with the data set. So it's your values as long as the memories are checked, but then it's the values of the training set of whatever company is training on it. And you don't have knowledge of information retrieval, you don't have knowledge of these grounded blocks, you don't have knowledge of all these things, then it can be very dangerous. And that's not a playground that our company wants to play on, because we've talked to hundreds, if not thousands of people last year, and we watched what was going on. So, our company mission, our team decided we're going to stay 100% focused on teaching people what we've been learning and working with and building for the last 25 years, which is epistemic grounding. Okay, understanding how search works. Okay, that's my background, and what these retrieval systems are doing in relationship to artificial intelligence. And so entity veracity is a new term that you can understand. You can look that up. I think I have one of the first documented papers on that. Entity veracity is when all of the entities, and for Google, this is a very specific meaning. And if it's a meaning for Google, it's a meaning for absolutely everyone else. An entity is generally associated with a machine ID. Okay, if you go to Google Trends and you type somebody's famous name, a person, place, or thing, or an idea sometimes, there's a search term query for it, but there's also a topic. It can be a topic, it can be a location. Those are entities. What that means is deep inside Google, there's an anchor. That means there's an entrance place on a database entry for the Google Knowledge Graph. And not only that, there's multiple different Google Knowledge Graphs, okay? If you log into Google and you're part of Google Gemini Enterprise, you're part of Google Gemini Workspace, these are extremely advanced models, and they're extremely close to the AGI core at Google. The AGI core means artificial general intelligence. And then there's a giant big steel wall encrypted with quantum encryption, and behind that wall there's Alpha Evolve, which you won't get access to. It's self-evolving, unsupervised learning. It's used by government agencies. It's part of the big projects, including Stargate and everything else. On the other side of that wall, all the big tech companies that have the seriously powerful self-recursive unsupervised learning agents are at governmental level. These are the Palantirs of the world. These are the variety of other things. Okay, so we know about these things. We can bump up against some of those walls. Our business is not needing to involve ourselves with federal level items, but federal level agendas. But you guys do need to know what's going on. As you see the rise of AI being brought to the agenda in the White House, as you see the book by Kissinger and the former CEO of Google, Eric Schmidt, talking about Project Genesis, you're going to see the direction of what we call unsupervised, super agent, recursive, and ever-growing knowledge that's verified and grounded, meaning not just a recursive loop that somebody on their machine is building to create a pretend spiritual cult, okay, but actual grounding in the physical world. That means that if you do a physics experiment and it doesn't work, or it works on paper, then you have to ground it in the physical world. Either humans or robots to go do the test. And then the test, if it works, you can build real stuff on the ground. That then becomes an epistemic anchor. Okay, so those epistemic anchors mean that it has been proven in the field. Now, the problem that AI agents are facing right now, and this is what Google and Gemini are doing that no one's talking about, the problem that they're facing is that they have to actually anchor a fact, a claim. Subject, predicate, object. Okay, so when you make a claim, you have to be able to ground it in your identity, which is a biometric ground on a computer chip. Ideally, there's 5 layers of the security stack. AI systems know. So what Google has programmed is when somebody does something, like leaves a review, signs into a computer, buys something, the distinction between a human and an AI bot and AI slop on the web is being marked by 5 layers. And that layer is called entity veracity. Okay, so this is what we've been working on. We cracked the entity veracity code. We understand what block rank is. We've moved past page rank and even entity optimization into something called entity veracity and entity porosity. So this is what we're showing everybody. And guys, it has really practical implications on the ground, because it means you won't be spoofed. You'll know the difference between how to anchor your own identity as well as other identity functions. And you don't have to just do 360 videos of yourself. That's an excellent anchor, but there's now 5 to 7 ways to anchor your identity, your works, and your deterministic contribution to your own business models. In other words, future AI systems are going to know the difference between a human and AI slop, and they're already working that out. The question is, where will all of this go when it comes to human life, and what is the quality of life that's going to remain with those who know about what I'm talking about, entity veracity and grounding, and those who do not? We'll see you on the next video.